I'm really happy to have all you out here today. It's amazing the things that the Tea Party has already been able to do around the United States. People just are so ticked off with the government that's grown and gotten so far out of control. And it's a group like this that's going to get it back into check. I'm a businessman. I run a few family businesses here in the city. A little history about myself. I moved here 14 years ago. I've got 3 children. 2 of them are in the city schools right now. One's 3 years old, so he's just kind of running around in circles and playing with toys, but he'll be there soon. When my first son reached the age to where he was going to enter elementary school, I called the principal of the school where he was going to be going, and I asked her, I said, how does your school compare to the other schools in the city? The only thing she said to me is, we're dead last. Well, I hung up the phone, I talked to my wife, I said, we've got to make a choice. We can't stay here, we cannot stay and have our kid go to this school. So we decided to move, and we had to make the choice. Are we going to move to Roanoke County, Salem, Vinton, or are we going to stay in the city? We decided to stay in the city because we love the city, but we found another school system that had better records than that other particular school. The schools in the city have absolutely got to be supported, but I can tell you what, the way that City Council went about supporting the school systems was absolutely wrong. They presented to the public that you had 2 options to support the school system. You either put a 2% tax out there, meals tax out there for 2 years, or the other option was put a 1.5% meals tax out there forever. Those options raising taxes should have never even been on the table when the money to fund the school system was already in the budget. They tried to present to the people that the only option was to raise taxes. It absolutely was not the only option. And then people who spoke out against the taxes, they said, well, if you're opposed to raising the taxes, then you hate our kids, and you hate our teachers, and you don't care about their jobs. That's just absolutely not true. It's because the people on City Council right now don't know how to run the city like a business. I can tell you, I had a lot of people say, well, where were you going to get the money from for the schools if you weren't going to raise taxes? Well, I went ahead and read the 375-page city budget. I did a very quick read on it, by the way. I spent maybe 5 or 6 hours. And in a quick read, I did find a few places where we could have funded the schools. Number 1, the city intends on spending $10 million on renovating the market building downtown. That money doesn't have to be spent. Number 1, if they intend on doing it in the future, whatever, that can be in the future. It doesn't need to be done now. The vendors who are in that market building don't want the renovations done. When I walk in that market building, I can't see where things need to be done at. It looks like a great place to me. Let me take it a step further with the market building. The city, just to keep the doors open and to own that property, loses over $100,000 a year to operate that property. They don't bring in enough money from the vendors in order to support their costs. The market building could be sold with the stipulation that the first floor remain restaurant and retail space. That way, that part won't go away. We all love the market building for that. That will remain the same. Whoever purchased that building in the private sector can do whatever they like with the 2nd and 3rd floors, whether they turn it into office space or living flats for downtown. Now, with the sale of that building, the city can get roughly $3 million for it. So that's $10 million we don't have to spend on renovating it. Let the purchaser of it do any renovations they like. That's $3 million from the sale. That's $13 million right there that the city could have had right now. Thinking beyond the sale of the building, once it's in the private sector, that's a building that the city can tax and generate revenue year after year after year instead of costing the city $100,000+ just to keep the doors open. I dug farther and deeper down through the budget. I came to an area called libraries. We spend $3.6 million a year on our libraries, and we have 7 libraries in Roanoke City. I wondered, does Roanoke City have enough libraries? Do we have too few libraries? Do we need more? What do we need to do with the libraries? So I did some research. The population of Roanoke City is 93,000 people. I Googled up, found a few other cities that have populations of 100,000 people, and made phone calls to those libraries. Asked the people at the circulation desk, how many libraries are in your town? Of all the cities I called, they have between 1 and 3 libraries. Between 1 and 3, that's it. Remember, Roanoke City has 7, and they intend on building another library on Peters Creek Road. That'll make 8. What kind of business planning is that? That's just sinking more and more money out there, taking more money out of our pockets that doesn't need to be taken. We could easily close 3 libraries in this city, sell those libraries off to the private sector, let someone open it up and run a business out of that place. Then we generate revenue year after year after year and not have the cost of having those libraries open, paying the staff to be in there, the maintenance on the buildings. These are things that the city just fails to think about when they go through their budget. They would just rather tax you so they don't have to decrease the size of this government. They would prefer instead just to pull the money out of your pockets to keep their own bloated size as it is. And this has got to stop. Going a little farther, that piece of ground that we bought for the new Victory Stadium off of 581 that we spent over $3 million on is just now a piece of ground, and they don't even have the money to put a stadium there. Now they plan on putting an amphitheater here at some point in time. Why can't the city sell that piece of ground out there? That's money we can get right away. The city purchased a golf course. The city doesn't know how to run a business. Did they really expect that they could run a golf course successfully? It was a foolish move. They spent over $4 million to purchase that golf course. And now, because of that purchase and the loan that we have, it costs us over $400,000 a year to own a piece of property that we can't do anything with or make any money on. That piece of property needs to be sold immediately and put back into the private sector. Let the private sector decide if it wants to run it as a golf course. If they think they can make money at it, let them have at it. If the private sector wants to build houses or condominiums or office space on it, let them have at it, because that's additional tax revenue the city can generate. A lot of people, when I've mentioned some of these ideas, they said, wow, you're really thinking outside the box. You know what? I'm not thinking outside the box at all yet. This was just a quick 5-6 hour read of the budget. I haven't even begun to think outside the box. When I get deeper into it, I'll find even more money. Unfortunately, City Council doesn't even know how to simply read its own budget and see where its own waste is. Over the last 10 years, the population of Roanoke City has decreased considerably, yet the city's budget has increased over $70 million. Whoever thought that was a good idea when you have a decreasing population and an increasing budget? They can't support them. That can't support itself. It's absolutely impossible. That's where they came to take your tax dollars by doing the 2% tax increase. We have got to cut the size of this government. It is far too large. I was at a meeting today with some hotel general managers, and I didn't realize even at the extent of what this 2% meals increase would do. This particular hotel in the city that's up off of Hirschberger Road just today lost 2 convention groups that were going to come to the city because of that meals tax. When the city said we're going to raise the meals tax and because of that we're going to raise $4 million for the schools, did they take into consideration now that we've got convention groups that aren't going to come to the city? When these convention groups come to the city, they come here, they stay in our hotels, they buy food at our restaurants, they shop in our retail stores. That generates an enormous amount of tax revenue for the city. These 2 particular conventions, they changed their convention location to Virginia Beach. Now Virginia Beach has that money and not Roanoke City. Roanoke City is a big business, and it has to be run like a big business. I'm a businessman. I understand how to balance a budget, and I will do that for the city. Everyone here has got a voice, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm running for city council. I want to be the voice of the Tea Party. I want to be up in city council and I'll say, the Tea Party people, we stand for this. We stand for smaller government, lower taxes, and I insist on it, and I will not vote yes on anything that's going to change that. Thank you.